Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Thursday, September 12th meeting of the Fitchburg Board of Health. The meeting's open to the public, including a virtual option. Persons who wish to participate remotely to the meeting may request a remote attendance meeting link. I think that's been done, and we might have some remote folks participating. If you do wish to speak today, we'd ask you to stand at the podium. It's a little bit easier for us to hear and for you to hear us. And state your name and the community that you reside in. Approach the center table, as I said, to speak. We tried to keep the speaking terms to about 2 minutes. We can relax that if really need be. And at the time, state the petition or order or ordinance or resolution number to which you refer. I think the first item on the agenda has to do with grief paper. This has been kind of an ongoing issue that we've been dealing with for odor that's occurring in West Fitchburg, thought at least in part to be due to grief paper. And we've been trying to do some remedial maneuvers along the way to try to improve it. Was there someone from Grief who wanted to make a statement, or?
There is nobody appearing from Grief today, although they did write me an update, which I can read first or afterwards. And however, I know Mr. and Mrs. Goodwin are here to comment, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, why don't we let them go first since they're here, and then if there's something to be read from Grief, we can do that later.
Good afternoon. Excuse me.
Good afternoon.
Like Mr. Curry said, my name is Kim Goodwin. I live on Mountain Laurel Lane, and we've been involved with this conversation about the odors since the beginning of, actually we opened the conversation. And first I would like to state that we're extremely disappointed that on the City Council agenda this week, or last week, there was supposed to be a report by the Board of Health that was not given. Nobody from the Board of Health decided to show up to the City Council meeting. So we're very disappointed that that did not happen, because it appears to be just another delay of getting this resolved. Excuse me. And I would like the letters sent to us when you can, please, the update that you got from Griff. The only other thing I would like to make a comment on, because other than that, we're just repeating everything. We went to bed last night at 9 o'clock with the smell in our bedroom, and it woke us up from a sound sleep this morning at 6 o'clock. Oh. So it's pretty much constant now, and it's certainly not getting any better. Mm-hmm. So we're disappointed with the reaction and the fact that it's taking so long to even make some progress.
Sure. Well, I can't blame you. How far is your home from the actual tanks that we've been trying to...
As the crow flies, less than a mile.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And from the actual plant itself, similar distance then?
A little bit further, yeah, because they're at the top of the hill from the tanks.
Okay. I'm going to apologize, at least personally for myself, about not appearing at the City Council meeting. I actually wasn't aware that we were being asked to do it. That's the first I've heard of it.
Yep.
So we'll try to look into where the miscommunication
yeah, I mean, from our opinion of the people that are concerned and upset and frustrated with this whole process or problem, it's another day of, yeah, it's not important. So.
Well, as I say, at least I think it's important to all of us, and I'm not sure where the miscommunication occurred, but we do apologize for that and try to remedy it. But I certainly can't blame you for being upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, the City Council's reaction was, okay, nobody here, we'll table it till next month. Yeah. So it gets tabled and pushed away again.
Well, again, I can only apologize and say that I'll look into it. As I say, this is the first I've heard that we were on the agenda. No one mentioned that to me.
If I may comment, it is on the agenda for Tuesday night. It's not next month.
This coming Tuesday night. Okay. Will anybody be there to present it?
I will be available, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Super.
I mean, other than that, all we'd be doing is rehashing. Oh, let me ask one other question. Did you get any numbers on the click fixes and how many there've been for total and dates?
About 113 since we began this discussion.
Could you find out the exact numbers and dates?
Yes.
Because I think that will tell us the significance or the severity of the problem.
I do have a list.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Goodwin, before you sit down, just, you mentioned the odor that you went to bed with last night and woke up with this morning. I understand that there has been some emptying of one of the tanks out there anyway.
Yeah, we don't really know because we don't get too many updates. All we know is when it comes back and how bad it is and how long it lasts.
And I was going to ask, so apparently there's been no real change in the odor from...
I would say long-term, no, there's been no change. There was a improvement period, and then it went right back to where it was.
When was the improvement period?
Week or two in July or so, and it's possible they weren't running those weeks. I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah, a lot of manufacturing facilities shut down in July for maintenance and cleaning.
Okay.
So there was a noticeable improvement for a couple of weeks, and then it went right back to where it was. And some days it's worse than where it was. Mm-hmm. And when I say to you this morning that it woke us up, it woke us up. That's what woke us up at 6, the smell coming through our bedroom windows. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not exaggerating.
Well, I probably won't ask you to describe it here, but I understand. Yeah.
No, it's just disgusting. Sometimes it gags you. Sometimes it burns your eyes. All of the above, except for it never has caused any vomiting or anything, but it's disgusting. That's the best way to say it.
Well, fair enough. Is there anyone else who, have you finished or?
No, I'm all set. I just wanted to make sure that the disappointment was expressed and see where we stand.
Okay, and again, I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this particular subject? Or if not, then Steve, would you mind saying what GREEP had to say? Or
not at all. First off, I'd like to mention that I did do an investigation this afternoon about 2 o'clock. I did go to several of the sites. We did receive about 5 or 6 complaints today and probably 2 or 3 last evening about odors. I did not notice any odors at the condos up by the Goodwin's resident, and I did not notice any odors on the Ward Street area this afternoon. However, I did notice a cardboard / sewer odor at the entrance of the Grief Mill, which would be the first entrance on the Fitchburg side. I did notice an odor there, and I also did notice a very similar and stronger odor up by the mill. I did not notice any odors of any kind by the batch tanks. One of them does appear empty. It has a hole in the side of it, and that is part of the improvement process. I also did receive a report of the third party this morning. The third party received a complaint at 7:59 a.m. It was investigated at 10:45 a.m., and the complainant was from the Ward Street area, which is a little bit different direction than...
right by Good Shepherd, I believe.
So at the Ward Street area, there was a 2 out of 5 rated mill odor this morning. There was a complaint from Park Hill, but there was none detected from the third party, nor did I detect one this afternoon. There was a complaint from Beach Street up into the 300 block of Beach Street. Excuse me. But I did not detect an odor, and nor did the third party this morning. And then there was a complaint from 85 Westminster Street, and the rating was a 1 out of 5 from the third party on that issue.
Can you just clarify, when you're saying third party, what are you
Yeah.
referring to?
So if you recall, at a previous meeting, we asked Grief, especially since they're so desensitized of the odors, to they hired an engineering firm, which is very similar to the landfill. The third party comes out, and the firm is actually connected to our complaint system. Our complaint system is C-Click Fix. The complaint goes directly to us as well as the third party, so the third party can immediately respond to the complaint and go out and do a rating of the odor and anything else. So there is an odor detected.
That was my question. I wanted to confirm how they get notified, because I don't remember ever getting a phone number or anything for them, but they're in line with the ClickFix complaints.
They are. As soon as you hit submit, it goes to us and them.
Yeah, because I'm not surprised that you got a barrage of them overnight last night. Yeah,
2 or 3 last night, 5 or 6 today.
yeah.
But
Because
some
it
of
was,
the today were
Yeah.
actually describing last night's.
yeah, I mean, it's, should we say frustrating at the least, to wake up with the same smell you went to bed with.
Understandably so.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other question while you're there, is this irrespective of weather? For instance, in the winter, is it?
No, I mean, it's any time of the year. I mean, we could find that from ClickFix when we find the dates. I can't say for sure whether cloudy days make it worse or sunny days make it worse. I mean, last night, well, like I said, there's no sun, but there was no wind last night. Right. More times than not, when I've been putting them in lately, there's no wind. So it's just drifting from somewhere. I would assume if there's a wind or a breeze that it probably dissipates it faster. But if there's no wind, it seems like it just sits there annoying people.
So just to pick up where we were, so one of the tanks is now empty. I think
That's correct.
That was going to be one of the hopeful remedies. Okay,
Okay? All right, thank you.
thanks.
If it's okay, I'll read the update from Grief, and they apologize. They had prior engagements. This is as of September 3rd. It says we remain on track for commissioning the project in mid-October 2024, with an expectation that we will start the sequencing batch reactor, which are the 2 large tanks on site, operation on completed the first unit prior to that date, and then they plan to bring the second unit online after the work has been completed. So as you recall, these tanks, the first one has been completely emptied and found that there were considerable amount of solids in the tank, which could quite frankly contribute to odors. And they have been working on vac trucks have been working for a couple of weeks on cleaning out those solids, and I believe that operation is done.
This is wastewater working on this? Wastewater working on this?
I'm talking about Grief.
Yeah, okay.
This is separate from the wastewater treatment plant. But yes, the wastewater treatment plant, we did take a look at that, I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, and things were looking good at that time. I did notice an odor on Princeton Road in front of between the facilities, but it seemed more that it was coming from the mill than it was the wastewater treatment plant today. The gate was locked, so I was not able to enter the wastewater treatment plant, but we certainly can do that by appointment. So it says major accomplishments to date. The first SBR unit was completed and online August 1st, but operated as a biologically activated aerated treatment system until we have the programmable logic controller built and programmed for operation as an SBR, as an operation tank. The second SBR unit had considerable solids in the bottom, similar to the first, and the cleaning of that tank is nearing completion in the first couple of weeks of September. That could be what we may be experiencing today.
It's stirring it up or something.
Yeah. The third note says, "We will remove the components that must be replaced in September and commission this unit for service later this month. We do not anticipate any issues with the mechanical portion of this project, and all components are on site and ready for installation." The fourth bullet point says that they expect to start to fill this unit and establish the healthy biomass needed for treatment at the end of September, and then install the floating and mixing components in early October. The next bullet, the fifth and final, says the control portion of this project is underway, and we expect to have the system ready for commissioning by mid to late September. This has been a struggle, with the original vendor reporting that they were unable to meet the original date promised. So they moved programming to another outfit that has been able to dedicate the labor to the project, and they expect to remain on track for startup, the startup timeline they mentioned earlier in mid-October. And it says, "Thank you, Joe Michaud, Vice President of Manufacturing."
So one of the tanks is emptied of liquids, and they're working on the solid portion. And then on the other, they're also working on the solid portion, sounds like.
Doing the same thing to
Doing
the
same
second
thing
tank.
For it,
Yep.
yeah.
And that's when they'll switch over to the sequencing batch reactor tanks with
And-
aeration.
And they're anticipating completing this, sounds like, toward the end of this month. So,
End of the month, and then all the equipment associated with the operation of these tanks would be mid-October.
yeah. And it was brought up, I think, that some of the worsened odor or the strong odor that's present over this today and perhaps the last few days might be the kind of disruption of these solids at the banks of these, at the bottoms of these tanks, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Yeah. It sounds as if what they're saying is that we can't expect a lot of change until this system goes online, end of this month, beginning of next month, in terms of any other available remedy. Again, I think we've apologized that it's taking this time, but we're probably going to have to ask for patience until this process gets completed toward the end of the month, and kind of keep our fingers crossed and hope that this is the remedy. If not, then we'll have to look into other potential causes. But I think this was the quickest one that could be accomplished to do this.
If I make a recommendation, an order, there has been ordered issued by the Health Department, by myself. It may help if we were to have to pursue this legally. It may help that an order from the board is also issued. And I just want to throw it out there that it appears that the board, to a lot, is not really doing anything because they really haven't issued any orders or anything like that. So I think that's where the council is how the council is interpreting that there really is no future to this, and that it's just ongoing. So it may not be a bad idea to at least discuss it and vote if there is support to issue an order. And I would be glad to prepare that order for folks' signature if that's something that is amenable to the board.
You know, at one of the meetings that we had before, I asked when one of the representatives was here, what would it be like to scale back on your work until this problem is taken care of? So let me see if I got this straight. We have one tank that is empty except for the solids, which they're trying to get rid of,
Correct.
which is stinky. We got one tank that is still...
However, today I did not notice any odor by the tanks, zero, which was, I was surprised by that.
Okay.
All the odor was by the mill, actual mill.
Grief.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. But we're talking about grief, by the mill,
Correct.
when you say by
Yeah,
the
when
mill.
I'm- Yep.
So when that question was posed to the representative from Grief, what his response was is we would have a lot of customers that would be unhappy if they had to scale back on their production or whatever it is that they're doing. Just scale back on it until the promise is remedied. Promedy, which is a remedied problem. Anyways, I don't know whether that makes any sense, rather than just have the same complaints keep coming up. Why can't they just scale back until it's taken care of? It's going to be another month before things are probably going to be working okay.
When you say scale back, are you saying stop altogether?
No, not necessarily, but obviously there's something too much going on that they're not able to handle the solids or the waste or the, that's my opinion, that there's so much of it going on that they're not able to take care of the problem that the residents are having, which is the odor and the summer of odors, and their production or their work or their milling of all of this cardboard probably hasn't decreased at all. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but they've probably been trying to keep up with their own schedule at the displeasure of the residents.
Yeah, I certainly understand what you're saying, but I don't know how they could scale back or what that entails, or economically what that means for the whole region, laying off workers, or what it
Right,
means.
so we have that imbalance between what's going to happen for them economically and what's been happening for the residents the whole time. It's just, it's,
Potentially. I mean,
Balance.
whether scaling back would actually make a difference, we don't really know that, so.
I will tell you, when they do shut down, if the odor is present, it does still take a little bit of time for it to do whatever they need to do. Most of the time it's aeration, especially this new system they're installing requires a lot of aeration. So most of it is the aeration, and then the installation of when you have a wound and you clean it,
Antiseptic or
and it fuzzes up. I can't think of this.
hydrogen peroxide?
Hydrogen peroxide. Yes.
Charades.
They do install hydrogen peroxide to reduce odors.
it's not working.
When you mentioned an order, what did you have in mind for that?
Well, I thought it would be good if there was something on paper that says you are hereby ordered by the board you have been found to violate either Massachusetts general laws, Chapter 111, Section 122, causing a nuisance, and or it's a violation of 310 CMR, which is the air pollution laws. And it basically identifies the violation, and it says you must remedy it. And that also is up for discussion. I'm throwing it out there just because I think that the board is getting the vision or being observed as not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that would help move things along. Just a thought.
You're saying pollution, air pollution,
Yeah.
but they're denying that. They're saying that there is an odor, but that it's not anything that's dangerous or toxic, and, we don't really know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think
there's
air
an
pollution
odor.
necessarily means it's harmful, but
Yeah.
if it's an unpleasant odor, it's air pollution, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't object to that. Perhaps some sort of time frame should be put on it as well, just so that city council will know that we're meeting business, as it were.
If I may interject, I think a notice from the board would go a long way as to at least demonstrating to the people that are upset that it's being addressed and hopefully being taken seriously. Because up until now, we don't necessarily see that it's been taken seriously. So I think that would go a long way to...
I don't think they would have done this rebuild of the tanks if we didn't.
Sorry?
I don't think they would have done this rebuild of the tanks if we didn't get involved when we did.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I
Just,
mean, that,
kind of a big deal.
I mean, we'll rehash it, but we've been going after this for 3 years anyway. if
No, I know.
not more
I'm
than
saying
that.
when it finally did get to the board.
So I think that an order whatever you want to do, a cease and desist or whatever the right wording is, I think would go a long way to get their attention. Plus, I don't want to use the word pacify, but make a lot of people in the neighborhood comfortable that at least it's getting attention.
If you don't mind, my concern is that we've kind of like negotiated with them in good faith that October would be the deadline for this. And we've made that the deadline, and it seems like they're on the finish line to get to that deadline. I'm not sure. I have no problem writing an order just in case this doesn't work. So it looks like we're being proactive about it. I don't think it's going to make it go any faster. It doesn't sound like they can. I mean, it's a matter of their subcontractors working on it now. I'm not really sure what's going to speed this up. I'm not trying to say that I don't want to try to do anything. I just want to give any false hope that this is going to.
In my opinion, an order from the Board of Health would be a line in the sand and telling them that it's getting serious and that needs to be dealt with. Unfortunately, it took this long, but I think a Board of Health order would be appropriate.
What would an appropriate timeline be for you? Before the October date?
Well, I mean, I'd say, in my opinion, if they could hold the October date, I think that would be at least a commitment from them. And then maybe if it slips from that, maybe daily fines or something might be in order to get their attention.
Certainly, if they go past that date, that's when I think an order.
Yes, I would agree, but I think the original date is reasonable.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. We can give an order for the original date because we did negotiate that with them in good faith here.
But I think you're making a good point. I don't know as if an order is going to make them go any faster. It doesn't seem that they're dilly-dallying over this.
I think it sends a message that we're serious, and if they were to go over that deadline, we've kind of drawn that line in the sand.
I would agree. Thank you for that.
I agree with what he was just saying. If, Mr. Curry spoke of the MGLs.
Could you just introduce yourself?
Jason Lazat, live in West Fitchburg. Why wait until end of October to then write an order? Why not get it documented, get the process going, so if this doesn't resolve, you're one step further. Those violations you mentioned, the MGLs, it's like, why wait? The board's supposed to be doing something. This is very simple. He knows exactly what the regs are, document it out, and they don't even have the courtesy to show up. It's a big corporation. Somebody could have been here. So I just want to echo what he said. But I definitely believe there should be an order written by the board and how that process.
Well, I think we could do something to the effect of saying you have committed to, we'll be generous, an October 1st deadline to remedy this odor problem, and we could start to talk about penalties if it goes beyond that time. I think, to be fair, we've agreed to September 30th.
What kind of penalties could we assess? What kind of teeth would an order from us have?
Well, Mass General Law 122 is up to $1,000. The air pollution laws aren't real strong on penalties, but either one allows us to, if violated, take it to the next step, which would be the courts.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. We should come up with a date in October as a deadline.
You and I can work on that if you like.
Yeah, I can prepare a draft and share it with you folks. I'd be glad to work on that tomorrow morning and get it out for a signature. You said an October date?
Oh, well, we probably should set a deadline for when we can start finding them if they go over it.
What's going to be the measure of the fine? Somebody complains of an odor, there's going to be a fine, there's going to be an
It could be a
investigation?
complaint, it
So
could
that would-
be our findings, it could be, it's creating an odor, or however it's determined.
Do you need a motion?
If there is support for the order, should be voted on, yes.
I don't know about setting that October 1st date, because didn't that letter say
I
it was?
believe you
one-
did say mid-October.
I meant
Yeah.
a date in
Yeah.
October, not October 1st.
Do you want me to, or? I can make a motion that we, the Board of Health, create an order as to grief that we would like, we are, I suppose, demanding a remedy to this odor problem as of, shall we say, October 10th. That gives them time to comply with the deadline of September 30th, October 1st that we've talked about for getting remedies, and that would give another few days to, because you said sometimes it takes time for these odors to get out of the air and so on, give a little time to see if that would happen. So if you want to say October 10th,
Is that acceptable to the other members?
I would second that.
Yep, I'm in
Yeah.
favor.
I think I would prepare the order that would read forthwith up until September, or, excuse me, October 10th, because we want it now.
Yeah, we want it now.
Yeah.
But after the
Okay.
10th, we can start the legal process and the fines.
And you're on board with that?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So it's unanimous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is
And
any,
maybe there could be something in that, that if you're not able to comply with that, along with the fine, you're going to have to scale back on whatever it is that you're doing. You know, I think that could very well be a part of it. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's not going to make any difference at all, but.
I'm not sure I don't know enough about how the tanks work, because, the biome has to be kept healthy, so I don't know if they can scale that back without making things worse. So I don't know how it works. That's just my limited biology knowledge.
I respect your point, but I agree with Ian. I'm a little, since this whole process is not something we're real knowledgeable about, I think it starts to get hard to say scale back, how much scale back, what that means around here economically and so on. I think we should just stick with, I think if we put some teeth in an order, it'll get their attention, and hopefully, I know they're making an effort now. I'm not saying they're not, but perhaps they would double that effort if they were being fined.
I think it sets the board up for enforcement if necessary.
All right, well, again, appreciate the patience of all the folks who live out that way, and I say I know it's been going on for quite some time, but we're trying our best to get it remedied. Hope you at least understand that. So is there anyone else who wanted to speak on that subject or had anything to add? Anybody here? I think the second item on the agenda has been postponed. I don't think we even really need to mention that. Is number 3 then going to go ahead?
Mr. Tebow is present.
Mr. Tebow is here. Okay, so we have Matthew Tebow requesting a variance about private wells.
Mr. Tebow,
Good afternoon.
am I saying it correct?
Tebow, yes, yeah.
Did prepare a presentation, so I printed it out. Did you need a copy?
I got one, yeah. Just,
Can I have one?
just a quick rundown of what's been going on.
You want one too?
Yeah, I do.
Jeez.
And it's big font. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll let you, if you want to look through that, or I can kind of run through it for you. I'm currently building my house up on 177 Tonian Parkway. I drilled a well. We went down about 1,200 feet, only got a gallon a minute, and then came before the board to get a special permit for to drop a pump deeper in that well, put a holding tank in the basement, and that was approved. I think that was about a year and a half ago. We went to set the pump this August and discovered that the well had collapsed on itself, so it's no longer a viable well. after that, I did discover that there's a shallow well on the property that used to feed a couple of the houses up there, I'm told. Right now, it has an existing well house on it. It's kind of, if you see the picture, it's kind of fallen down. So if I was able to use this well, we'd rebuild that whole thing, make it nice and secure, so no rodents or animals or anything could get into that well. It is about 200 feet from my septic, from the leach field. It's about 100 feet from the neighbor's property, which their septic is like another, I believe it's like another 150, 200 feet from there. So I believe we got the distance from all the septics in the area. It's about 20 feet deep, about a 10-foot diameter. There was about 8 feet of water in the well. This is in the beginning of August. So I pumped out about 1,200 gallons. It was slowly recovering, and then you get a good rainstorm, and it got right back to where it was. So I'm here to, I did also get the water quality test. I have a copy of the results here if you can't read them on there.
I did print a larger copy.
Okay.
On the back.
So the Skillings and Sons, I don't think, he was going to try to join remotely, but I don't think he made it. He said the pH levels are high, so we were going to install some sort of system to address the pH level, as well as put a filter on there to keep the the dirt and the sediment out, along with a UV system, which is kind of just used as a precaution to kill any bacteria should a rodent go down there and whatnot. So basically, I'm here to ask to use that well to provide water for the house. It's a 2-bedroom house. And basically, if my other option would be to try to drill another well, spend maybe another $25,000 and have no guarantee. So with the water that's there on the property, I'd like to at least attempt to use that to water the house. And that's what I'm here to ask for permission for.
Could I just ask some background? This well that you're wanting to use is on your property, is that it?
That's correct.
And as far as the one that you had before, the 100-foot one or whatever, and it collapsed on itself, so you can't get a pump down in there, is that the idea?
Correct. We went to set the pump down there, and at about 500 feet, it was no longer, they couldn't go any further. Everything.
I see. And just out of curiosity, were you aware of the new well, the one that you're talking about now, being present before you drilled the other one?
I knew there was a well there. I didn't realize how big it was until afterwards. We kind of examined it with the Skillings, and he said, he took a look at it and said, "Wow, this will do your whole house and some."
Oh.
So,
okay. So retrospectively, perhaps you didn't need the other.
Yeah, but I would have done it anyway, just to, having the drill well versus that.
Yep. And it looks as if there's considerable clearance from the septic systems in the area, and the water quality was good, I guess, that came from it. Yeah. And someone was using the well before, sounds like.
Yeah, that according to one of the neighbors, it used to feed a couple of the older houses up there. Mm-hmm. There was an old utility line that was with a meter on the side of the shed, so it definitely was being used at some point.
And it sounds as if it's refurbishing itself as needed through the summer anyway.
Since I started kind of observing it, yes.
Yeah.
So a dug well is always a great piece of equipment because it's not really susceptible to all the aquifer contaminants that are in the ground, such as the radons and because of the decay of rock. However, it is more susceptible to bacteria because it's closer to the ground. So is there, I believe there's some sort of a treatment system that you plan on installing, some sort of a UV system?
Yes, I don't have all the details on it. I was hoping he was going to be able to speak on it, but he did say it would be a UV system that basically treats the water, like eliminates any bacteria that should be in there.
So he's kind of got you in a headlock because the house is built. I think he can prove manifest.
I'm hoping to move in another month and a half or so. But
Yeah,
then we-
$25,000 for another well that
Yeah.
might possibly do the same thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if I may make a suggestion, and if, I don't know, Mr. Tebow objects to it, but it may not be a bad idea to do some annual testing, maybe even more than that if, however the board feels, but some sort of, and I'm not out to try to empty your wallet, but
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that you're not drinking contaminated water on a regular basis. And, you know, technology is a ton better than it was even a year ago, so the UV system will probably do the trick, but, I mean, we are giving up a whole 13 pages of a variance of well regulations. The whole purpose why we adopted regulations is to avoid this, but it happens.
So in terms of testing, let's say we were to ask that he do it every 6 months to a year, or whatever we decide on, he just takes a sample of water and submits it to a lab
Yeah.
somewhere, and it...
There is a
so-
cost to it, however.
Yeah, the last, this test here was, I think it was close to $500.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer once a year versus twice a year, but whichever you go with. I'll comply.
Is there, of course, we're not really supposed to do that. Title V requires a whole list of contaminants, but is it any cheaper if you just test for coliform or E. coli, just those items?
I would guess, but I don't know
You
for
don't
sure.
know the
Yeah,
answer, of course not.
yeah.
Title V really does require the whole list that you see on there, on well testing, so it's, to skip something really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but a dug well is probably not going to experience all the contaminants that a drilled well will.
Interesting.
I don't know if we wanted to do one, because it is expensive.
Yeah.
$500 is quite a bit of money. If we want to do one like the first 6 months, and if it comes back okay, maybe another one a year from then, and that will be it, kind of thing.
I think that's a good suggestion. I think if it stays pretty clear for a year, I don't know if there's real need to ask him to redo it. So, yeah, perhaps 6 months, and then a year after that even, yeah. And if that were fine, it could stop that.
Sounds reasonable.
Kind of interesting, the things that, you know, that did pass are the things that I hear people are concerned about with their wells, like arsenic and lead. Those passed, but it's sodium that didn't pass, and the pH is not right. But how do you get sodium?
So he mentioned that the sodium, it doesn't pass the state regulation, but it passes the EPA regulation, I'm assuming the state's a little stricter. But he did mention there would be some sort of system to address that as well. But yeah, it is the drilled well actually had worse test results than this well.
Really?
It had more arsenic and iron.
Well, I would make a motion that we allow use of the backup well or the dug well with the requirement that the water be tested in 6 months to assure its safety, and then 1 year after that. If on that second test, the water passes, I don't think we would ask that any additional testing be done.
Okay.
I'd second that.
I'm in favor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice work.
thank you.
Thank you. Sorry that
Could I-
happened to you.
Just a logistical question.
Sure.
So the well that you had drilled collapsed on itself. So what, did they do something to prevent that from happening, or does it?
Yeah, you can sleeve it with PVC pipe. The problem with that on this well is you'd have 1,200 feet of PVC, which is
Right.
cost more or as equal to drilling a brand new well, is what I was told.
I see.
So,
Just dirt and whatever fell into it as time went on, and,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, super. Thanks.
okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Best wishes.
Yeah. Steve, before we get on the next, any remote individuals who had anything to?
We have 7, but I believe they were all related to the petition.
The upcoming petition?
Yep.
Okay. Well, then, I think we can move on to the next item, which is a petition request from Jacqueline Wetchy.
Jacqueline Wetchy, Fitchburg resident. Local tobacco regulations are a burden on small businesses and harm our commercial tax base. In many cases, they duplicate state regulations and increase fines and suspensions beyond what is reasonable. You all have struggled with these cases, seeking to lower or waive penalties in numerous instances, penalties that do not take into account individual circumstances. The tobacco agent herself at a recent hearing recommended a case be continued without a finding. These are all signs that your regulations are too strict. One day you heard 3 cases, all involving individuals, quote, notified of regulations via written material left with a clerk that may or may not have reached them, material in English which was not the first language of any of them. In many cases, businesses are victims of entrapment as, quote, minors who are 19 and 20-year-old adults, old enough to join our armed forces and die for our country, are sent to try to lure the business into selling to them. Our proximity to New Hampshire, where regulations are looser, already makes it hard for these businesses. The list of forbidden products constantly shifts, and manufacturers do not provide up-to-date information. In many cases, the items are openly displayed because the retailer is unaware they are illegal. The regulations are based on faulty assumptions. Take the local ban on blunt wraps. People don't smoke marijuana to get a fruity taste, which they could get from a piece of candy. They smoke to relax and forget their problems for a while. Prohibitions don't work. As we speak, there is someone in Fitchburg selling Newports, probably out of the trunk of their car or their house. Smoking is prevented on the demand side, and you are now addressing demand with the Mass Call 3 coordinator, which is great. So it's time to repeal the local tobacco rules. I am thrilled that so many small business owners are here to tell you their firsthand experiences with these regulations.
Thank you. Is there someone else who would like to speak on this subject then?
Hi, I'm Jignesh Pichani. I'm a local business owner. I'd like to bring some concerns about the Leominster Tobacco Alliance hired by the Board of Health of Fitchburg and 45 other towns. Some of the things that we are concerned about is we understand that there's a problem, but this is not the solution that is being put forward. By doing this, this will send we have right now, as we came and talked to Mr. Stephen Curry about a couple weeks back, we mentioned to them that the 46 towns are implementing a new law just in these towns, not in the other citizen towns of Massachusetts. I believe there's 354 citizen towns of Massachusetts, 46 which is controlled by the Leominster Tobacco Alliance. They're implementing a FDA-guided guideline that was sent as a package back in mid-August, and the deadline was August 31st to get rid of these products. These products that they're talking about, there's a 75% excise tax which we have paid, but are now being asked to take it off of our shelves. We reached out to Joan Hamilton, and now she's given us an extension till September 30th. But that is not the solution. What happens after that? Just like she has mentioned, if this goes out to the neighboring town, neighboring state, or the worst, the black market, there's no taxes being collected. How are we going to regulate that? Another question is, it's making an unfair market for the small business owners if only a few towns take on this and say, well, the rest of the towns can sell it, but you cannot sell it in this town.
What specifically are you referring to? What is the product?
They're talking about vapes and other flavored wraps and stuff, but the majority of it is vapes. So there's been a flavor ban in Massachusetts, and there is no flavored vapes to be sold. With that being said, I've heard from our prior meetings that she's concerned about illegal products coming in. Well, that is something, if she's the regulator, she should regulate that. There should be heavy costs on that, maybe taking the license away from the retailer. But I know that I'm in business for the last 10 years, and we are not there to sell any illegal products. They come into our locations, and you can do a full search, and if we were found, I'd say take the license away, put me out of business. But the way this is happening right now, that she comes in with a package of 20 pages, as you know, that majority of them, English is their second language. They don't understand half the things. It's not clarified by what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. A very short time is giving to us that this is what's going to happen. We came in front of not in front of the board, we met Mr. Curry last time. He didn't have any idea that this was being implemented. We walked into the town of Milford. The Board of Health did not have any idea. Town of Clinton, town of Oxford. So this Tobacco Alliance personnel, I think it's a personal thing that she's going with, but it has to be done in a way where it's not just a Band-Aid. It has to be done properly. Say, okay, if the whole state should be on it. I have other businesses in the city of Worcester. There's nothing about this. Some other friends of ours that also own businesses in other cities and towns of Massachusetts, they have no awareness of this from their town. It's only these towns, and if Mr. Curry can speak about that, last time we left a package with you on that. These are our concerns as a small business owner. Yes, it can drive us out of business. We are there to do everything by law, but there are things that is unfair, and it needs to be talked about. Our voices needs to be heard regarding this.
So you're talking about flavored vaping?
Not flavor vapes. There's a 3% and there's a 5% clear vapes out there in the market. Massachusetts has been long gone from the menthol cigarettes and the flavor products. Mm-hmm. She has also talked about youth vaping. We have stores that's 21 and older. If you're not 21, you can't enter. I know that an 18-year-old can walk into a liquor store because they have lottery. They have other things. We don't have lottery. We don't have any food items. But the only difference between them and us is that we can sell a vape that is 5%, where everyone else can sell everything else, but we're not allowed to sell this. We've complied with it, but it keeps coming up over and over. So you can't sell this, you can't sell that, but the whole state is not regulating that. I don't know where this information is coming from. And we do need your help to at least hear us and see where this is coming from.
So you mentioned this one particular product. Ms. Wetchy has asked that all local tobacco regulations be repealed, leaving only state regulations in place. Are there other regulations specifically that come to mind immediately that you think should be repealed, or perhaps Ms. Wetchy has them? Again, I'm not disagreeing that certainly it seems unusual that a small segment of Massachusetts should be regulated in ways that others aren't. And so either others need to enhance our regulations or we need to decrease them, but it would seem reasonable that we all be doing the same thing. So as you say, somebody doesn't have to drive 1 mile and get something that he can't get here. But is there some listing somewhere of all these regulations that are duplicate to the state, number one, or number two, that go beyond the state and that other portions of the state are not involved in? that would give us something to work on, I think, if we had some specifics about that, rather than just to say we're going to repeal all regulations. Certain places in this state have even more strict things than we do. I think Brookline, Massachusetts, for instance, no tobacco products whatsoever are allowed to be sold to anyone who was born after the year 2000. That's a specific regulation that they have, and it's actually encouraged, I think, by the courts in this state that certain local regulations be promulgated or be brought out. They're not illegal. They're reasonable. So I think that certainly we'd be happy to look at anything that is prejudicial to local businesses that, as I say, someone could drive to the next town and get. But I think if we could have some specifics as to what to look at, that would be helpful.
So we do have our attorney present via Zoom. Is she on Zoom right now? Attorney Yael Magan?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes. Can you hear me?
Well, we can hear you.
We can, yes.
You can hear me, excellent. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Yael Magan, and I'm representing some of the business owners that are today sitting here either physically or on Zoom. And I came basically to talk about a couple of subjects today. One is you talked about specifically laws that you wanted, and so one of the laws that just got enacted is 105 CMR 665. And basically that law came into effect on August 30th, and it prohibits the sale of any type of flavored tobacco, which has already been enacted in Massachusetts. But what it did actually is it flipped the burden of proof of what is an acceptable product in the state of Massachusetts from basically the Board of Health to the business owners. And so what happened is that up until now, up until basically October 30th, a business owner had some kind of letter from a manufacturer saying that the products that are selling are legal, they have FDA protocol and certification, and then if an inspector came, they had the right to come check the product, and then if they thought that the product wasn't okay, was either illegal or had a flavor, then they could basically restrict it. But what they did is they shifted the burden of proof from the towns or an alliance to the business owners. And now every single business owner has to go to the manufacturer and get a letter that states that every single product that they are selling of the manufacturer, that we're talking about thousands, is not flavored, is clear. And that is something that is specific to Massachusetts. You see, even, and it has to be in every single product, even a regular Marlboro or Camel cigarette that have been sold for centuries, now they have to go and get that specific letter that it is not flavored. This is very specific to Massachusetts. And basically, the law, like they said, is in effect, came in effect on August 30th. The fines of not having these letters, which is not that easy to get, we are trying not to get from every single manufacturer, again, letters for every single product, came into effect on August 30th, like I said, and the fines include $1,000 per business for the first offense and then $2,000 for the second offense. Now, I don't know if you know the Board of Health, if they know, but you are part of what is called the Board of Health Alliance Tobacco, which is basically directed by the Lancaster Alliance Tobacco Board. And what that is, again, some of you do not know this, but it was enacted in 2018. About 40, it was back then 37 towns, up until now 47 towns signed into that alliance for 3 years. And then due to COVID in 2021, all of these towns basically automatically were extended for another 3 years, which is basically we're talking about 2024. So maybe some of you don't even know that you're part of this alliance. And now what happens with this alliance, like we said, is that there is one person that is basically has a jurisdiction on all, these entire 46 towns. And sometimes they are much stricter than even what the state of Massachusetts allows. And so basically they have the right to go into what is called a smell and sniff test to determine whether each product is flavored or not flavored, even if now they receive the letter from the manufacturer. And what happens is all these 47 cities and towns that are inside this alliance are basically held to a much stricter jurisdiction than other towns, and they're losing businesses. So instead of going to buy products in Fitchburg, they're going to buy products in other places. And one of the requests that we would like is the Board of Health to maybe review this alliance. Know what is the jurisdiction, or do they have the right for enforcement, for education? What exactly is the relationship with this alliance? How much does it cost the town to be part of the alliance? And whether being part of the alliance really benefits the town and the residents and the business owners, because not only are the business owners losing money, but also the town is really losing taxes and customers, etc. And so we are here talking about basically two issues, which is both the stricter laws in Fitchburg, the stricter regulatory laws for tobacco that the town has putting a very big burden on the business owners. And also this new law that is coming into effect is going to put not only a big burden on the owners, but also citations. And we're asking you to perhaps either put that on pause, not allow the alliance to give citations to the business owners, at least for a time period of 3 to 6 months, in order to allow the business owners to prepare for this new law. Like you said, they only got the notice of this new law going into effect. It was August 26th was the hearing. And so it only gave 4 days for these business owners to get thousands of letters from these manufacturers that every single product is not, like we said, is not flavored. And so we're requesting one, please get some more information about the alliance, perhaps put that on pause, or you do have the jurisdiction to demand certain things from the alliance for your specific region. So perhaps, like I said, put at least the citations on hold for 3 to 6 months. And with the petition specifically talking about the restriction of the local bylaws that we have, it is taking away customers and businesses from our towns, and it's putting a burden on our business owners and our residents. Thank you so much.
Mr. Patel has his hand up.
Okay, Mr. Patel. By the way, thank you, Ms. Megan.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for the time. I'm a local business owner here in Fitchburg. I will briefly tell us about myself, not being selfish, but I'm just going to be, my concern is about economic concern. My dad started business here in 2000, and it's been 24 years we are as part of the community, and we're still doing a business here. It's been really struggling. I would say this is my second generation in this business, and it's really, we are, as a business, we are really struggling due to all the state regulation, which is, I totally understand, it's passed by the state, we all have to follow, and we are suffering hardship. On top of that, we all know state regulations are strict enough as far as the tobacco regulations. It's really give us a hardship in the business. And on top of that, all the neighboring town, I would say Lunenburg, they are allowed to sell all the product which the Tobacco Alliance tried to ban here in Fitchburg. So I would consider it's a really unfair business practice among here in city. I have to applying this ban, I have to put probably my few employees out of job because being a small convenience store, I don't have much to offer to the community. I am relying on certain products only. So my kind request to hear our voice and make decision based on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's someone in the back. Yes.
Good evening, board. My name is Amit. I'm a local business owner and investor in Fitchburg. It is my honor to be here to present in front of you about the fair practice and fair businesses. I'm definitely in favor of repeal all the local tobacco rules and regulation and impose only the state governor rules and regulation. The reason why is, as a Massachusetts state retailer, we should allow to sell the product which is approved by state of Massachusetts. As per the regulation, we should allow to sell the product from the state approved and legitimate manufacturer. In our opinion, tobacco law by state of Massachusetts should not be divided by the region and locality, because we all carry the one driving license, which is the Massachusetts on it. And the law should equal for everyone in the state. Usually state law supersedes all the local laws, and local board controls the punishment to make it harsher or lighter. In the scenario where the local board supersedes the state law and makes unnecessary restrictions, and on the top of the state restrictions, in our opinion, we think it creates the confusion and a lot of misunderstandings that which products we should sell and which product we should not sell. All our distributors and manufacturers are state approved, and they follow the strict state guidelines. There are many products we receive which from the manufacturer, the approved manufacturer, which is allowed by the state, but there are some products which is banned by the locals. So I would definitely request the Board of Health to intervene and allow all small business retailers to do the free practice under the state law, which is sufficient, and as to repel other unnecessary restrictions by the local board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Hi. Could you give me an example?
They have a restriction by the local that they wanted to restrict the two or three kind of the e-cigarettes, which is manufacturer from those e-cigarettes. We have a letter from the manufacturer under the law of Massachusetts is approved, but they want the local board, Leominster Alliance, they wanted to restrict those e-cigarettes, which is allowed by everywhere else in the state of Massachusetts, like a Juul, like a Crave, Clear, Luchos. Those are the all.
And when you conduct a business in, let's say, Fitchburg, and you have this additional regulation, do you receive some sort of notification of that? Do you get a letter from someone saying, even though you're allowed in the state, under state regulations to do it, in Fitchburg you're not? I mean, how do you know?
They just sent us a letter like 15 days ago, like, like, okay, this is the date, do you want to, and sometimes we as a owner, like, we're not present at the time. We get the letter after 2-3 days, and that's the thing, like, because there is no regulation such as they give us a call or something that to alert right away that they're making these decisions or something. So I would definitely request see the timelines also, where they put the timelines, like either 30 days. They should give us at least 3 months, at least few days or few months to understand and come to you, because to express our concern and thoughts.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
There was a gentleman way in the back. It's his turn now.
I have a gentleman raising his hand virtually too.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all the board members to give us the opportunity to represent or speak out. I'll answer Ms. Murray's question you asked him. So, for example, the particular product, I'm a business owner in Fitchburg, particular product that is allowed to be sold in state of Massachusetts or manufacturer letter, Dutch Master or Dutch Royal Haze. It's allowed to be sold in the state of Massachusetts, but Fitchburg, it's banned. I got violation for it twice because I had it in my store laying around. I appealed it to the board. They let me go through it. But there are many confusion products, or there are many products that are being regulated by state and local authorities, and it's just creating so much confusion for us as a retailer as the product is being supplied by the supplier. I believe for the Tobacco Alliance itself, they have taken their hands off from passing on the responsibility to the supplier based on the conversation that I had with Ms. Joanne probably a couple of weeks ago. My main reason for coming up here and just addressing a different angle of this whole conversation that we're all having as a team member is initially the whole Tobacco Alliance or all of these regulations started back in 2019 to prevent young age to consume these products. And that's when the menthol ban came in and several other regulations have came in. We're into our 6th year since the whole start of this process or momentum to take place to prevent this. As a business owner, I've been in the 22 years in retail business. Besides selling tobacco products, I sell other products also. My question or my request to the board members would be, I don't know how on the back end the regulations are being observed. A lot of data are being put out. As I spoke with Ms. Joanne prior, the statistical data is coming out that kids or the superintendent of the school is calling her department and saying that they're finding vape products in the school, which is primary an issue. Completely support her to see whatever could be done to resolve the primary issue. But it seems like in 6-year time span, all the regulations have come upon us, the retailer, and one after another, one after another, one after another. But the data is either not improving or it's not to the level where a board member and as a community member that we would like us to be at for having young teenagers or underage kids not to consume this product. I don't want young age students to consume these products or have these products in there. But maybe an angle need to be viewed as we're not the only culprit here trying to sell these products to the young age kids. I can assure you that I could probably discuss 5 or 6 different areas in the state of Massachusetts within every single town, 20-25 vicinity where 20-25-minute drive vicinity where products are being sold on the street by an unlicensed person. As a business owner, we're all in together to understand the agenda or the primary agenda that was initially introduced 2018. Regulation was brought in 2019. I'm sure that the data could be brought up by state regulation where I believe there was an article in the newspaper where there was a $17 or $18 million tax revenue dollar was lost. Numbers could be provided by a wholesaler or cigarette supplier everywhere. The menthol sales or the cigarette sales boomed, state of Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. I'm sure that you are aware of it or you can't deny that fact, which is perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. But one regulation after another, another regulation after another, another regulation after another. If it's all coming down, if the responsibility or the burden is just coming down upon us as a retailer, then it doesn't seem like we're having a good support system here. We're here to share our problems with you, not just only as a business that we're going to lose the revenue, but primary goal here is to not to have those products in school. Completely in for it. As far as I'm in for it, and I'm sure that a lot of the retailers are in for it too. But is this going to solve the problem? Should be, if not primary, one of the questions anytime any regulations is being brought out, whether it's FDA approved product, non-FDA approved product, menthol product, non-menthol product. We're into 6 years since the whole thing have started. I think the data should be there sufficiently. If we're still dealing with the same problem that was already issued or being dealt or being addressed in 2018, then maybe we might need to change the course of action. That is all I would suggest. Thank you very much for the time.
Oh, thank you. You said someone was remotely, wanting to speak remotely?
Yes, Mr. Patel is next.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Well, thank you to the board for offering us the opportunity to speak at this meeting. My name is Rush Patel, and I represent Air Brands. We manufacture and market a line of non-tobacco, non-nicotine smoking accessories. So you might ask the question, why am I participating in this meeting about tobacco regulations? And perhaps our illustrative example will kind of shed light on the dysfunctional enforcement regulatory mechanism that's being implemented in Fitchburg and other towns that are part of the Boards of Health Tobacco Control Alliance. I believe there's 40 some odd towns involved. So tobacco regulations in Massachusetts implemented in 2019 under Mass General Laws, Chapter 270, Section 28. And then, tobacco sales in Fitchburg are operate under those state laws, as well as the Board of Health regulation, I believe based on your website, and correct me if I'm wrong if there's been an update since, but the most recent update on the website was regulation of the Fitchburg Board of Health restricting the sale of tobacco products that went into effect December 2018. So under both of those, both the state and local regulations, the products we manufacture and market, which are non-tobacco, non-nicotine containing hemp wraps that are intended exclusively for the use of adult consumers or with commonly used legal smoking herbs, including in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, cannabis. So under the state laws, our products are permitted. Varieties of our products, some of which are flavored, are permitted because the state laws and the local regulations were intended and drafted to address tobacco use and nicotine use. Time and time again, in the towns that are enforced by the Boards of Health Tobacco Control Alliance, we've seen the spread of rampant misinformation, incorrect application of the statutes, and unfortunately, it seems like the enforcement efforts are the domain of just one individual who makes decisions as she sees fit. So, for example, in Fitchburg, many of our retailers, some of whom are present here, and have been told that they cannot sell our products. They referred to a package that was sent out or left with them or with their clerks in August. One page of this has hemp wrap clarification, which I'm addressing because it particularly refers to our products. And the first line says, there was initial confusion regarding flavored hemp wraps, cones, tubes, etc. Flavored hemp wraps are considered a tobacco flavor product enhancer. And then the letter goes on to reproduce some sections of Mass General Laws, Chapter 270, Section 28. Those definitions, and we've clarified this with other towns, do not apply to our non-tobacco, non-nicotine containing products. The local tobacco control agent has taken it upon herself to interpret the state law how she sees fit, which to me is not a prudent course for enforcement. We as a company, of course, are are proponents of responsible regulation, but at the same time, we really value the rights of adult consumers and our valued retail partners. And not even mentioning the potential legal liability many of these towns will face from applying regulations incorrectly. I just, it stands to question, what the purpose is of regulating products, for example, ours, that were not intended to be regulated to begin with on the whim of an individual's decision. And retailers, steering away from our products particularly, retailers have alluded to other instances of this where, state regulations clearly define characterizing flavors in tobacco products, and that decision is not to be made arbitrarily or simply by the inclusion of flavoring additives. Yet, time and time again in these towns, including Fitchburg, we've seen enforcement agents apply an arbitrary standard, and that leaves retailers, many of whom, it's been mentioned, English is a second language. They are busy working 80, 90 plus hours a week, contributing to their local communities and providing, essential goods such as milk and bread. What's happening really is retailers, this has become like a campaign of intimidation where retailers, we face it every day, where retailers, even though they're legally entitled to sell our products, say, oh no, I'm afraid to sell the product because I don't know what the regulations really are. And I don't think that's a situation anybody wants to create. And just in closing, I'm going to give you a particular example since you asked for it before. Many of our retailers have been asked by the local tobacco enforcement for a manufacturer's affidavit related to our product. So this is interesting because the Massachusetts general laws that I mentioned earlier require a manufacturer's affidavit from tobacco product manufacturers that the products on a certain list do not contain or impart characterizing flavors. And that is specifically in the Mass General laws related to tobacco product flavor regulations, and specifically related to tobacco products or nicotine-containing products. So our initial reaction was, well, we are not manufacturing a tobacco product or nicotine-containing product and are not required by the law to provide an affidavit. It's gotten so difficult to communicate that we've had to draft a letter essentially stating, we're not required to do this, but you don't want to listen to us, so here's, we're going to regurgitate the state laws and provide you a list that we're not required to provide in the first place. And this, mass confusion, obviously hurts business, but it creates an economic climate where, today it's just, tobacco products or smoking accessories that are being targeted and specifically targeted. But in Fitchburg, what's to prevent, local enforcement agents in some other area from saying, well, the regulations say one thing, but the building code says one thing, or the restaurant sanitary code says one thing, but I'm going to hold you to a higher standard and require you to, clean your dishes 7 times instead of sanitize them once. I'm giving a extreme example here, but that's some of our concerns, and I think some of the concerns echoed by retailers, why they're so frustrated by this disconnect between what the actual regulations are and what appears to be arbitrarily, and then they're not even arbitrary regulations, because as far as I know, the Boards of Health Tobacco Control Alliance is not empowered to make regulations. They're empowered to enforce existing state and local regulations. So, you know, how can somebody representing that board or a tobacco enforcement agent walk into a store and hold them to a regulation that doesn't exist? So again, I appreciate the time to speak. Happy to, follow up later if you need some more specific examples. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's educational. We appreciate it. I think there is one more person who wants to speak remotely. Is that
Somebody
correct?
here on the floor wants to speak.
Joan Hamlet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Joan?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I took a lot of notes down. Interestingly enough, tonight's agenda was on the local regulation only, and 90% of what was discussed today is, in fact, a federal law requirement or a state law requirement. So it was kind of beyond the scope, so I don't have a full preparation to answer a lot of the issues. So I would like to ask the board to move this agenda item to the next meeting where I can do a presentation to clear up many of the inaccuracies that were presented tonight. The one thing that I do want to clear up for tonight, the Tobacco Control Alliance in all of our education materials, all of our retail ed packets annually, every year since 1994, have addressed language equities. And in our packets, we have a paragraph in the particular packet that was just hand delivered to the stores at the end of July that they're talking about. It was the end of July and the first week of August. We hand delivered to the stores, and each store signed that they received it. So we don't know exactly when it got in owner's hands, but this was an in-store hand delivery. And it had my number on it to call if there was any questions or concerns. But I just want to state for the record that on the cover page, it was a paragraph that said, here is the FY education packet for the FY 25 year. If you have any language equity issues or need this to be provided for yourself or any employees, please contact us. And we put that paragraph in 7 languages, and not one retailer from Fitchburg has ever called us and asked for in any other language since the start of our program. So we do everything we can to address language equities. So if there is anybody in the room who has language equities for their staff, their managers, or whatnot, we can provide that packet in its entirety in multiple languages. And one of the things is the local regulation for Fitchburg is the state law has been implemented, and it charges and mandates that a Board of Health enforces the state law. The local regulation is very outdated. The state law is stricter in almost every aspect than the local regulation. So the Board of Health, and as your agents, we've been enforcing the state law. The only local regulation, only components in your local regulation that are higher than the state law is the local blunt wrap ban, which has been in effect for over, 13 years, 14 years. I'd have to check the date. And the cigar pricing, which is, those are density strategies, and those have been in place, and we've been enforcing those for well over 10 years. So other than that, everything else in the regulation is outdated and is, so if let's just say you voted to get rid of the local regulation, 95% of the enforcement still stays in place as mandated by the state law. But I don't want to get outside the scope of what the actual agenda item was. So I'd like to move that we can do a presentation for some of the inaccuracies. And an example of an inaccuracy is the flavored hemp wraps. We're not prohibiting hemp wraps. The state law prohibits any flavor enhancer, and no flavor enhancer has tobacco in it. That includes a grape-flavored paper wrap, a grape-flavored palm leaf wrap, a grape-flavored hemp wrap, a grape-flavored cone, hemp cone, paper cone, any material where you can put something in it, light it, and inhale it and exhale it out your lungs is considered a flavored enhancer. That's a state law. The board can't say, gee, we're not going to enforce that. What we did, because there was a question on if hemp, not all other wraps and not all other flavored enhancers, there was a question about if the right to farm law applied to hemp products, and it was an inquiry. And some boards, over 100 boards, banned hemp wraps right away in 2020 as a flavor enhancer. We chose to pause on that and allow them to be sold until it was determined if the right to farm hemp law applied to these hemp products, and it was determined that it does not. We didn't determine that. That was a state case study, not us. So as soon as we were informed that hemp wraps are a flavor enhancer, just like a paper wrap, just like a flavored, we let everybody know that, you know, and everybody in the state is going to be enforcing hemp wraps. So we put it in the packet to give people a chance to sell down what they have. We've communicated every year with our retailers that hemp wraps, and many retailers from Fitchburg have texted me, emailed me, asked me, can I still sell hemp wraps? Yep, until we get the determination, I will let you know. So this hemp wraps is not new. It's not, there was just a gray area about it, and I don't want to regulate anything that I'm not supposed to be regulating. So rather than take it away and find out for a couple of years they could have had it, I waited for the inquiry. And that's what we decided to do in Fitchburg. In terms of the FDA, if you need a marketing order, an approved marketing order to sell products, or you need a pre-marketing order application acceptance that shows that you provided the scientific data necessary and are under scientific review. If you don't have one of those two things, your vape product is considered a black market product and not allowed to be sold in the United States. Not just in my 46 towns, not just in Massachusetts, but in the United States. The Attorney General's office is going after counterfeit products in Massachusetts, and I connected an article to all our boards about it, and the FDA just partnered up with the U.S. Department of Justice, and they're working on counterfeit vape products, counterfeit products where people are selling products and they never applied for the FDA. So if your company that's manufacturing and selling the vape has never applied to the FDA, that is an illegal product in the USA. It's not allowed to be in the USA. So what we have to do in this year's inspections, now that this has been brought to all of our attention this past spring, is in this FY25 inspections, if I come into my retail store and I see one of these products that has been tipped off to us or known to us to not have this pre-marketing letter, then we have to take a picture of it, ask for removal, take a picture of it, upload it to FDA, and then FDA sends one of their 4 to 7 FDA inspectors to the retailer about it. And the retailer gets in trouble, the manufacturer gets in trouble, and so does the distributor, because they have to have applied to the FDA and had that acceptance letter. So we educated our retailers that you need to be doing this, so when I come into your store for this year's inspection, I don't have to upload and report to the FDA that you have a product that's illegal. The fines for 1,000 to 5,000 are if you do not have the Massachusetts flavor letter, and that has been a requirement. There's no new laws. This has been the requirement since 2020. Sorry about that. This has been the requirement since 2020. So this is not new law. It's just this FDA element. They've needed that PTMA letter since 2020. And then they were for synthetic vape. There was an extension to August of 2022. This has been the law. When we speak to FDA, FDA says it's retailer responsibility. State law says it's retailer responsibility. Local regulation says it's retailer responsibility. There's been no shifting to the retailer. It's always been retailer responsibilities to make sure that they are legally selling the products they choose to sell in their stores. We've worked very hard with retailers to educate them, to give them every chance, to make sure they have all the information they need so they can comply. You know, we're getting outside the scope of the agenda item because basically this turned out to be a lot of discussion about state and federal law requirements that the board can take a look at them and be educated about them, but a board can't give permission to a store to vacate state mandates or FDA requirements. And part of the local permit says that they have to be in compliance with state laws, FDA requirements, attorney general laws, and local regulations in order to have their permit. So let's just say we went into a store and they didn't have a pre-marketing letter, or they didn't have a marketing order that allows for that vape product. I have to ask them to remove it. I have to take a picture of it, upload it to the FDA, and then the board action would be, if they don't remove it, that you have to review them to take away their license for not meeting state, federal, local, and attorney general requirements. So we're working really hard to work together with our retailers. And with that said, I think that it's gone way beyond the scope of what the agenda item allowed. So I don't even know if it was, because it expanded into things that weren't on the agenda item. So other people didn't have the opportunity that may have been interested in this topic to come to the meeting and speak. I'd like to move a whole presentation to the next meeting, next available agenda. If your next meeting is full, the next available agenda. We are not, the FDA has required these letters all along. We're not giving them an extension to continue to do it. We're letting them know we're not going to be doing that annual retail check until after the 30th. So it gives them time to make sure their products are legal, which is something that should have happened all along since 2020. With that said, in terms of state DOR violations and FDA violations and local violations, out of my 46 towns, Fitchburg ranks as the number 3 as the worst in noncompliance in all 4 categories for state, federal, DOR, and local violations. They have the highest noncompliance rates for FY 24. So there is a lot, all the education that we're doing, there is a lot of work to do. And part of the reason why this work is being done is because many of the manufacturer letters don't have the requirements that are required by the state law to be a legal manufacturer letter. So we give those requirements to retailers. So it's a one-page requirement. A retailer can give that document to whoever they're buying their products from and say, we need a letter that has all these components in it. And lots of times they come back with a letter. They had a product called Bricks, and it was signed by Shirley for a company that couldn't be verified with no address, no CEO, no number. So we said, Bricks, this isn't a legal manufacturer letter. It doesn't have the proper components. You cannot have that product. If you get a proper letter, then you can have the product. If we think the product is flavored and there's a counterfeit manufacturer letter or whatnot, and there's a counterfeit crave letter, there's a legal crave letter, and there's a counterfeit crave letter. There's 2 letters going around, so we can't just accept the letter if it doesn't have the right components. So unflavored crave products are allowed, but the counterfeit products that are called like Mr. Freeze Ice and some of these other things that are flavored products, these things, as we become aware of them, we make sure the store understands they can't have that product. And when we've come across these products, as long as they weren't menthol, cherry, grape, or whatever, we've always given the retailer an opportunity to remove them, and then the non-compliance happens if they're still in the store the next inspection. So there's lots of points to cover here, but, like I said, it went beyond the scope of the agenda, and I think it really should go on the next agenda item so all interested parties could be present either online or at the meeting.
Joan, could I just ask a question? There are federal regulations with regard to tobacco. It sounds as if there are additional state regulations with regard to tobacco. And now we're hearing that there are local regulations, and these local regulations may not be the same for every town in Massachusetts. What do you say? I think some of the business owners who are here today are indicating that perhaps they're more strict in Fitchburg and towns in this region than they are in towns that are perhaps nearby. And maybe that's too big a question to talk about now, but...
I'll give you an example. The only thing you have in your local reg that's not in the state law is the blunt wrap ban and the cigar pricing. Everything else is higher, the penalties are higher, and everything else is stricter in the state law than you have in your local reg. And out of the 46 alliance towns, 45 of them have, 42 of them, 42 out of the 46 have a blunt wrap ban or cigar pricing. Majority of the state of Massachusetts, the towns, it is a local violation, but a majority of the towns that have tobacco retailers have the blunt wrap and the cigar pricing requirements, and majority of the towns that have that have raised the minimum pricing. The minimum pricing for a single cigar is $2.50 in my 46 towns or my 42 towns that are doing it, and the pack of 2 or more is $5. A majority of the towns that have had a pricing restriction has raised those prices in their local towns. We have not in our 42 towns. We usually, it is a local component, but we usually try to work with all boards to pass the local component to try to help with the neighboring issue when it's something that isn't the state law. But there could be a town that didn't pass it because it's never been a problem, but it's been passed in towns where there was a problem.
So are we talking about when these business owners say that an individual can drive nearby and get something that you can't get in Fitchburg, are they talking about New Hampshire where there's different state regulations?
I can't speak to what they're talking about, but there's been products that are prohibited, and they'll say, well, in Worcester, all my stores in Worcester can sell them, or I know of a store in Worcester that sells them. Worcester isn't funded for tobacco control and doesn't have a tobacco agent. And what I've tried to explain is that not every town has a tobacco agent and not everybody has equal funding. So this area happens to have funding, so a tobacco agent can do the work for you as directed under you. I don't do anything that we haven't discussed that isn't part of your local reg or a state law requirement that we're mandated to do. But there are towns that don't have, for instance, Lunenburg isn't part of the Tobacco Alliance, and Lunenburg has never had tobacco funding. So lots of times for Fitchburg, there's like 2 smoke shops, I think, and a retailer. And a lot of Fitchburg, over the years, retailers have complained to me that they're doing things that violate the state law. When they told me specific things, I reported them to the Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue went to Lunenburg, and many of those stores had inventory seized and ended up with DOR violations, which are on the public record in the state database, where you can see the violations and the penalties that those retailers have saved. There is a black market. We've caught stores in Fitchburg selling things out of a car, selling things out of places they shouldn't, selling things out of out-of-order ATM machines, selling Newport menthol. That had a New Hampshire stamp on it, selling to minors. We've had a significant amount of non-compliance in Fitchburg in this past fiscal year, not in the past, in spite of all the education. And when we find that non-compliance, the state law dictates the fine of $1,000 to $5,000. We don't get an opportunity, and it's in the state law that that fine cannot be reduced by a board. It can't be reduced by a clerk magistrate. It can't be reduced by a judge. It can only be reduced if there's a protocol error or a processing error that's found, and there's a reason to find a retailer not responsible. Then the fine can be thrown out.
So with regard
that's the state law. We can't change what the state law dictates.
Right.
And we did a significant amount of education with all of our retailers by mailing, email, and in-person deliveries when those fines went from 100 to 300 to 1,000 to 5,000, saying, please be aware that when these things happen in your store, before we started inspecting them.
Yeah. So with regard to Ms. Wetchy's petition, if I'm understanding what you've said, the only regulation that we have locally that goes beyond state regulations is the blunt wrap regulation.
And the cigar pricing. Minimum pricing on a single cigar can be no less than $2.50, and a pack of 2 or more can be no less than $5. And that's a density strategy, so kids don't pool lunch money and buy, 3 for 99 cents and things like that. So it's a density strategy.
So it's really those 2 things, blunt wrap and perhaps cigar pricing.
Yes, and those have we've been enforcing those for well over 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not criticizing Ms. Wetchy at all, but I was kind of expecting in this petition that we had 50 regulations here that don't exist elsewhere in the state, but it sounds as if there are just 2 regulations that don't exist elsewhere in the state. Is that correct? Hello?
Those are the only 2 things. I do think what retailers are upset about is that when I talk about this FDA requirement, it's required everywhere, but I think the concern is, and I have the same concern and agree with them, there should be equal enforcement. I can't help that another town isn't enforcing something. And what I do tell people is a lot of boards don't have funding. A lot of boards don't have a full-time agent, let alone a full-time tobacco control agent. So they're not funded with a tobacco control program like you are, somebody complains to the state, and then the state contacts the board, and then the board has to go out and do the inspection. It's reactive, not proactive. We try to be proactive. And I always say, just because it's happening in another town, it doesn't mean it's been allowed. It means they haven't been caught yet.
I think I can speak for the rest of the board here that every time we've had one of these issues come before us, we've tried to be as gentle about it and as forgiving about it as we possibly can. I really think we try. But I think, as you say, there's sometimes certain restrictions and penalties are put into place that we really can't go against. I agree with you. I think to have another meeting in the near future about this would be helpful. I think there's a lot of education that I know I could use, and I think all of us here could use about the regulations and what some of these products even are. We mentioned various products, and I have to confess I'm not quite sure what we're always talking about. So I think it would be very helpful, and I would invite business owners to come either in person or remotely to get educated. I think there's a lot of, I'm also understanding there's communication issues here, and I'm sure there are a lot of different languages that are there, and different employees come in and are present in these businesses who may not even get some of the notifications or may not speak the languages. So I think there is a communication issue, and I think it would be very helpful for the business owners to know specifically what they can do and what they can't do, rather than to learn too late that they've done something and then get penalized for it. And on the board, we don't like penalizing them because we understand that it's difficult to have a business here and to deal with this sort of thing. So I think an educational meeting, and maybe something even on a somewhat regular basis every several months, might be reasonable to update what the expectations are for these businesses. I think your suggestion's a good one.
Dr. Brocken, the only other thing I'd like to clarify is also too on hemp wraps. We have never required a letter on hemp wraps. We did receive one letter from a retailer on natty wraps being unflavored. However, certain names like Natty Wrap Naked or Natty Wrap Original or whatever, because hemp wraps can either be tobacco flavored or they can be clear, but we have not asked for a letter for hemp wraps. But if we go in and see a hemp wrap that says grape, orange, strawberry, or whatnot, those have been allowed up to now, and now they have to go. So they have to just be plain hemp wraps. They can't have anything in them that isn't plain or tobacco flavored. So that's I don't know, because I know the gentleman made a comment that they were required. We have not asked anybody to provide a letter for hemp wraps, and it's a flavor enhancer, and we have never asked. We've asked stores and fine stores multiple times for having flavor enhancers. We have never asked for a letter verifying they weren't flavored.
Yeah, you're mentioning one specific problem, and I think it's one of many.
Right. I just wanted to clarify for the gentleman that was on the phone that I don't know why his company. The only hemp wrap, a retailer emailed us a letter from Natty Wraps saying, I got my letter for the hemp wraps. We've never required a letter from the hemp wraps. It was nice that they went out and got one, but we did not require that. And in the hemp wrap clarification, we're not asking for it. In the whole guidance packet that we delivered, we did not require them or tell them that they have to give us
Yeah, I think that this is why I think some educational meetings, either held here or elsewhere, might be beneficial. Again, this is one of many issues that I think that have arisen, and I think it would be very helpful for the business owners if on some routine basis, and I know you try with going and visiting the businesses and providing written information, but I think if on some regular basis they could have reminders and instructions as to what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, I think would be very helpful.
I just want to speak to that annually, every year in their annual retail inspection, and we've been doing this since 1994, but very specifically and expansively since the new laws went into place in 2020, and even through COVID, we did in-person visits. We deliver the retail education packet every year in an annual visit. We ask to speak to the owner or manager. We go over the packet with them. And yes, sometimes it's multiple pages, sometimes it's 8 pages, sometimes it could be 10 pages, depending on what it's going on. But every year they get retailer responsibility, reminder of what the laws are, links to the laws so they can look them up completely themselves. And we go over them, and my phone number is on them. Do you have any questions? You can contact me anytime. And many retailers can tell you I'm available nights, weekend. If a call comes in at night and I'm available, I answer it. If it comes in on a weekend, I answer it. I answer calls on a Monday holiday if I'm available to answer it. And many retailers have contacted me multiple times, including the ones in the room, many times over the years, to clarify things and go over things. We're very available to our retailers, and we work on education. And I've said this a million times in our meetings. Public health is not meant to be punitive. It's meant to be, to be helpful. And our goal isn't to catch people in noncompliance, it's to teach them, educate them, and help them come into compliance. And then when that isn't working and there is noncompliance, we have to move forward with whatever action. And we always clean the slate. Okay, this happened. What else do you need for us to help you so it doesn't happen again? We hold nothing against any retailer. We clean the slate and we move on. Like I said, there's no benefit to the Tobacco Control Alliance to issue 1,000 to 5,000 fines. We're funded on education and showing that we're helping people come into compliance. Every fine collected goes into the Fitchburg General Fund, and my funding is not dependent on non-compliance. My funding remains the same, whether I have a 100% compliance rate or I have a 50% compliance rate.
Right. And we very much appreciate that, but I think irrespective of all that effort, we still have a bunch of people sitting here and people who've come in remotely who are still somewhat confused about what they can do and can't do. So I'm just saying, I think I admire your effort. I think you're making great effort, but somehow I think we still somehow have to do even better to straighten out what the regulations are. But it's been very helpful, at least personally to me, to understand that, Fitchburg is not. It has to do with, as you say, the ability to enforce certain things more than the fact that we have more regulations than anyone else. It doesn't appear that we really do. I was kind of thinking we might be spending hours comparing state and local regulations and going through 100 different regulations, but it doesn't seem that's going to be required. I think another gentleman has, yes.
My name is Argenis Guerrero, and I work with Rush Patel. This is where we all get confused at. She said there was 2 problems, and then she mentioned hemp wrap as the 3rd problem. At this point, that's why I would like Rush Patel maybe to explain a little bit what enhancer means and what actual blunt wrap is. And the definition of blunt wrap does not consist with a hemp wrap, 2 different things. So if I could finish off with Rush speaking, please, and thank you.
It's all right with me as Rush is still there. I don't.
It's not under the definition of blunt wrap. A blunt wrap has to have tobacco in it. A hemp wrap is under a different definition in the law. It's under rolling paper. So the problem that we have is a lot of retailers or people, and sometimes people who hire attorneys, they look at the regulation and they want to look at Webster's dictionary. They don't look at the definition section of the regulation and how it applies to the law.
I'm basing my information off the law, CMR 665. I'll be more than happy. If you could put Rush Patel on, he'll be more than happy to explain it to you.
Yeah, as I say, I don't know as if we necessarily need to define everything in this particular meeting and debate what things should be allowed and what not, but I think we should come to the conclusion that maybe further education for all of us is necessary, and maybe in a near future meeting we can address all these problems. Otherwise, I think we're going to be bringing up a lot of different questions. I will say it's hard to find anyone who knows more about this than Joan. I mean, she can educate us all, and I think it'd be helpful. And you know a lot too, I know. But, and I appreciate Ms. Wetchy's bringing this up and for consideration, and it clarifies it for us all, and hopefully we can come to some resolution of it all in the near future.
Hey, Mr. Patel.
Mr. Patel won't. Mr.
I believe he's there.
Oh, no, I appreciate your time earlier, and I agree. It's not necessarily productive for the board or anybody to get into the weeds on this. But again, appreciate your time, and we'll definitely follow up and with Ms. Hamlet and discuss it. Thank you.
Do you know Patel is a very common Indian last name, and I read about a year ago that there are more doctors in the United States with the last name Patel than there are Smith. So there you go.
Correct.
You're all related, I guess. Anyway, so.
Was there anybody else who wanted to speak?
My name is Sanket Patel, and I'm a business owner as well, sir. Thanks for your time. And I got a letter from Sunday, August 4th, which is Sunday, and presented to my employee, which is Sunday. It's not a regular day anyway, but they presented the letter saying we only can sell FDA-approved product by after August 30th. FDA does, when you go to supermarket, hundreds of thousands of SKUs we have. I can show you 10,000 SKUs are not FDA approved, still able to sell it. And the second point is, Supreme Court agreed on July 2nd, 2024 on Tuesday, considering whether FDA acted unlawfully in refusing approval on vape. And when Joanne was telling these local bylaws, which is the pricing, which is has to be more than $2.50 for cigar, and the second thing was the blunt wrap. The third one, that's what we are here for. That's what she's pushing for, which is vape. That's what we all here for. And the reason is we are here for, we got pushed so much, we are against the wall now. That's why we are here for. Some of them might go here for, like they even close the store, and they're here to hear us, because we can't, this is happening so much, and it will be really appreciated. And I even checked our website. It says makesmokinghistory.org. It doesn't, I think it's just a personal agenda because, smoking history, I smoke cigarette myself, but I don't like somebody making somebody's personal agenda, pushing on me. Basically, I can't smoke cigarettes. It's not right. So, and I think that would be all. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Very much appreciate everyone's comments, and I think everyone here has raised very good arguments, and I think we need to have further discussions to try to see how we can resolve this in a way that's beneficial, to everyone. Any other comments or?
No, I'm a little bit, I think we'll need to have another meeting because I'm a little bit confused about this last vape issue, because in order for that to become a local regulation, we would have to adopt it. So if she's talking about enforcing something, then it must be a state regulation and not us. And so I'm not sure what we can do about that.
If I'm understanding, I think what Joan was saying is not all cities have tobacco officers.
That I get. Yeah. And so the enforcement part here is what's making it seem like we have more regulations. It's just because we're enforcing it and other places are not.
Yeah.
Sorry, but Worcester does have their tobacco, like Board of Health control people. They do go there and inspect all the all the business owners for the rules and regulations. So I don't know if what he's saying Worcester doesn't have. Worcester do have tobacco control people. As far as I know, Framingham has tobacco control people as well. But nobody has, those regulations, which is still pushing for the vape. I don't think Worcester has started. Framingham hasn't started. But she's the first one taking initiative. I don't know why, but see, the other town does have the tobacco control people. Thank you.
Joan, do you want to have a last word on that, or?
Yes, I just wanted to Ian's point, Ian, it's a FDA requirement, and no Board of Health or state entity can overrule the FDA and say a product that isn't approved by them can be sold in their stores. So it's an FDA requirement, so there is no local Board of Health regulation on the vape. It's been a requirement since the beginning, and especially since 2020. They had to get the PTMA letters for nicotine vape product in by September 9th of 2020, and then they had to get synthetic PTMA letters in applications into the FDA by August of 2022. And as long as they had a scientific review of them and got an acceptance letter from the FDA, they could continue to sell that vape product while waiting for official approval. Anything applied after that is or hasn't applied at all, is a black market product, or it's considered a product that's not allowed to be sold in the USA. So it isn't Jones Law. It isn't me wanting to do this. It's the information that was given to us. And now in this year's retail annual ed inspection, we are required to, if we see these products that we believe to be outside of that scope, we have to report our retailers to the FDA. So maybe, I don't know. I know the Cape has 14 towns. I know that there's another tobacco control program that's rolling this out in their communities. I chose to do it by an educational letter and have discussions with my boards. I know that Worcester does not have a funded tobacco control program. They have no funds from the state, no funds from the MTCP. They have a local tobacco agent that does housing. They have agents that do housing, food, whatever, and then they do tobacco, but they don't have a funded person to do tobacco education visits and all the things that we're doing, and they do respond to complaints. So if they get a state complaint or somebody calls up and tells them something's going on in the store, they go and inspect it. Just like if somebody called and said, at this restaurant I got food poisoning, or at this house, the plumbing, there's no electric, I'm sharing a meter. So it's a reactive, just like you would any food agent. They have no outside assistance, like you have me as a tobacco control agent. So I'm not saying that other unfunded boards aren't doing tobacco work and not addressing complaints. The state law requires them to, but it's on a complaint basis, reactive basis, not a proactive basis with a full-time program like you guys have. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that, Joan has to keep up with these regulations too. She's not making them. She's in a highly regulated industry. She is getting these regulations, has to learn them the same way you do. And she's trying to educate you the same way we have to learn them, from her and from the state, and try to keep up with them. I know you feel targeted, but you are not the only regulated industry. He works in healthcare. I do some hazardous waste stuff. The regulations are crazy. And if we get fined, it's not $1,000. It's much bigger than that. Cigarettes are dangerous. They give people cancer. They're regulated. Dangerous things get regulated. I don't know if you remember pro-hormones. If anyone worked out in the 90s, there were things called pro-hormones, and they were basically steroid precursors with an extra hydrogen atom on them, but they were basically steroids. And they would ban one, and then another one would come out with a carbon somewhere, or they'd stick another atom somewhere else. And it didn't really change the molecule all that much. It was the same molecule. And they're just chasing their tail. And that's why you see these regulations changing all the time, and why we have new ones. These manufacturers, and I'm not blaming the manufacturers, they're trying to make money like everybody else is. They come up with one thing, it gets banned, they repackage it as something else, they change it a little bit, and they try to get it through again, and we have to catch up to it. Regulatory agencies, they're always catching up. New compounds get, discovered in labs. When they're first discovered, they're under all kind of little regulations, but then when you find out, if it's flammable, if it's toxic, they get a whole other set of regulations added to them. And these are things that us in these regulatory environments, Steve has to know, the food code, he has to know Title V, there's a million things he has to keep up with, and he gets letters just like you do. And he gets emails, and they get lost in the shuffle. It's not easy working these days. It's not easy working in Massachusetts. There's a lot of regulations, but we all do our part, and it stinks to a certain extent. I like our local regulations because we have a say. You know, with the state regulations, we don't have, you violated them, we have to fine you for it. With local regulations, which Ms. Wesche wants to get rid of, we have some discrepancy. We can say, we understand that, you know, it was a new hire that came in and got the pack in. He didn't know what to do with it. So we can say, we understand that, so we're not going to fine you today on that. We can't do that for state regulations, unfortunately. So that's all I really want to say about that.
Well said.
So I don't know if you're going to be voting on my petition today where the tobacco control agent did want this continued to another meeting. If you are going to hold another meeting, I would suggest you consider withdrawing from this tobacco alliance. In Fitchburg, some of you may recall, we had a food and milk inspector who was a real terror. We lost a lot of businesses. Some closed down. Others moved to Lunenburg or Leominster. Now, after she was removed, we got now Sean Michael. He's strict. He enforces the law, but he's not a jerk about it. And I think if we could get someone like him.
If we only did Fitchburg, you'd have a better point. But we'd have 46 other towns who aren't making these complaints. That was one inspector, one town, complaints from one town. There's just a bigger sample size here. I'm not going to make a motion to, I mean, I think that's silly, personally, but I'll hear you out.
Well, our percentage of tax revenue that's paid by businesses has gone down. The percentage of tax revenue that's falling on residents keeps increasing and increasing. Even after we went to a single tax rate, it's still increasing and increasing. And I feel we really need to appreciate our small businesses and have people enforcing the laws who are more business friendly.
Thank you. Thanks. Well said. Any other comments with regard to this? I think we will do our best to put this whole question back on a meeting on the agenda for a meeting to occur in the near future. I think it's something that deserves additional instruction. Go. Somebody else?
Sorry to bother you and take you guys more time. I appreciate Joanne to give all the input, but I still, just on my point of view is a little bit not different, but it just, all the regulations are good. As they said, that it's the FDA regulated product that needs to be circulated, and it's mandatory by FDA. A lot of the regulation comes out in the country, which is always regulated on a federally level, such as, on an example basis, Real ID to fly on federal aviation. If Texas fell behind, that regulation got implemented 2 years later down the road. I'm not saying that this should get pushed back another year or 2 years or anything like that. It's a health-related issue and it needs to be addressed immediately. But it seems like 42 towns are, or 41, 42, 46 towns, I'm not sure the exact number that Ms. Joanne represents. But if one town or one group of town is continuously, aggressively pushing with these regulations, today you are seeing an impact that is creating the driving force behind these regulation implementation that you're trying to put on us. And not the other towns are lagging behind. I'm not sure how to come up with a proactive way where the board members could reach out, or how we could probably come along the way as everyone implementing it at the same time. I'm not sure if that's possible on the legal standpoint of view, but if at least something like that could come along, that would make us part of the community rather than being left out and just being pushed on by board, as only 42 towns are following or always taking a lead. And as many of us have said, that has taken revenue impact and many other impact economically, which always makes us in a position to make decision whether we have to cut back on staff, lower employment, so forth and so on. So I would again just urge or make a request to see if there could be a proactive way where we could come up with a plan which is safer for the community and the health of the people, while we can implement this in a little bit linear way of more timing, 30, 45 days, 90 days, I'm not sure. Whatever board may decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there another person who?
Yes.
Thank you for the time. I just want to ask the Board of Health that FDA approve and FDA ban. FDA not approved, that doesn't mean that FDA banned those products. I would say, there's a case in the Jewel, it's in the Supreme Court. They have a hearing in October 2025. So just wanted to address that FDA not approved, that doesn't mean that FDA banned. So that's the thing I just wanted to address this. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. It's a good thing to bring out. All right.
Do we want to, we're probably not going to vote on this petition tonight because we want to hold another.
Yes, I would agree.
So I'll make a motion to table the vote for this evening and schedule another meeting with Joan and the rest of the group here.
Dan, do you?
Second that.
And I'm in favor of that also. So again, we appreciate bringing this up, and we will continue to investigate it and try to take all arguments into consideration. But I would agree that I think it's not really the moment to vote on this. I think we need more information about it.
Do you have the date for the next meeting?
We tried to meet the first Thursday of the month, so we have to be sure that everyone can be present, but ordinarily that's what we do. It's not this month, I guess it's the second Thursday, but we try to meet on the first Thursday of the month.
I don't know if you, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I see the minutes are on here. I don't know if you want to approve the minutes. If you
She's asking for a date. I think what we'll do is we'll publish that once we decide on a date, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't have to.
The next Thursday is October 3rd.
October 3rd. But I think we have to be sure before we tell everyone to show up here, though.
Right.
But likely it would be the first Thursday of the month. It usually is. All right. So, we're all set. You guys are welcome to stay if you want, but I think we've completed the discussion for today. Thank you all for coming. I know you're all busy and had to make time to do this. We appreciate it.
If we're meeting on the 3rd of the first Thursday of next month, can we get an extension on the motion that she has put in for September 30th now?
Yeah, we don't have any.
I don't know as if we have
the authority
to do that.
This board does not have the authority to vote on that.
But I think Joan's listening, so.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
So this has been a law that's been in place since 2020. So it's not, this is something that should have been happening. Retailers should have been making sure that they're buying from legitimate manufacturers with these letters, prior to now. So this is just an educational thing saying, hey, if you have these products that don't have these letters, get them out of your store, and we're going to start our annual inspections, after the 30th, so we don't have to report you to the FDA and have you go through that whole process. So it isn't an extension. We don't have any authority to extend something that has been FDA requirement since 2020, and then for the synthetic since 2022. It's not like optional. And when we see it, we don't have the option to ignore it if we know it's not a legal product. And there is a flood in the last 15 to 18 months of counterfeit products that has caused all this new attention to it. And we have found those counterfeit products in many of our communities. So we don't have the resources to prove if everything is illegal or not. It's very time consuming and resource intensive. So it is the retailer responsibility to make sure that they're buying. Now, many manufacturers have already sent us some of these letters, and many retailers are reporting that they're already getting them, and it doesn't seem to be that it's that difficult for them to get them. So I'm not sure why in Fitchburg it's more difficult than in some of our other communities. But one of the things is if I have the letter and I give it to the retailer, that doesn't help us if they're buying it from a truck off of Pennsylvania, or they're buying it from a counterfeit source, or they're buying it from an illegal source that's selling it online. If you're buying from a legal, legitimate manufacturer, they have that letter, it can email it to you in the same day that it's being requested. I have had a retailer from Fitchburg contact me with a company that they're using that said, we didn't apply for FDA at all. It's too expensive. We're too small for that. We can't afford to apply, but we can give you the Massachusetts manufacturer letter. And we said, we can't. That's an illegal product by FDA law and standards if you've never applied at all and don't have an acceptance letter. So, but to not apply at all, that is considered a black market product. And a board, I can't as an agent, or neither can a board say, we're going to give a pause and allow you to continue to sell a black market product. But if there is a problem that's for some reason that Fitchburg needs beyond the 30th, the date could be extended a little bit, but we cannot give permission to people to continue to sell a product that the FDA says you've had to apply for approval for.
Well, I feel there should be some strict measures.
If I may speak, if you can hear me. I just wanted to correct one thing. Joan did extend that deadline from August 30th to September 30th. We did have a meeting on August 26th, I believe, in Leominster. We talked about that, and then you came back with a decision that it was extended until September 30th. So that was by the Alliance itself.
We extended time to get the letters. We didn't give permission to continue to sell a product that may be illegal.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the timeline to receive the letters. I understand that this law probably was enacted in 2020, but these are business owners that if nobody tells them that the law is enacted or when is it enacted, they will have no idea. They do not do a research like this on a regular basis, and perhaps they did hear about it last year, but the matter of the fact is that the majority of the business owners in the 46 towns, including this town, did not know about it until August 26th. And so they are scrambling in the last couple weeks in order to get these letters. And I just want to clarify a little bit about what this new law that came into effect on August 30th made. It basically took...
It's not a new law.
It's not it's not a new law, but you're enforcing it now with such high, and it's very, very high citations. We're talking about thousands of dollars for small business owners. Perhaps in waste and other, management, we're talking about hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars profit. But here we're talking about small business owners that basically a citation went from $300 to suddenly $1,000 to $2,000. And Fitchburg business owners are in threat of getting these citations. And we're not asking to sell any products that are illegal, but it's just the burden of proof in order to receive a letter. And you know this, for every single product from every single manufacturer is just very, very high. It's time consuming, it's resource consuming. Sometimes these manufacturers do not know what we're saying, or they're trying to get it and they're going to send it. And so it just takes more time. And we're not asking from the board to do something that they're not supposed to or not enforce something. We're just asking specifically about these citations to not have this burden on this business owners, and to at least give them more time in order to comply with Massachusetts law, with federal law, and of course with the local bylaws.
And I agree that if there was more time needed, we could do that. But right now, many retailers are producing the letters and they're not having a problem. They're going to their manufacturers and they're getting them in the same day by email. So I don't know. I can only speak to the ones that are already complying and have already removed the products, and they already have contacted us to tell us they have the letters in their store for when their next inspection is due. So I can't speak to why some are having, but it's not correct to characterize all these retailers, and many of them, We had a meeting in Milford, 14 retailers out of the 32 came, and already in Milford, many retailers are producing the letters. They're texting me, they're emailing me saying, yeah, all right, they weren't as hard. We already have to call these manufacturers and distributors for the flavor letter. We gave them the copy of the example letter of what we're looking for, and they got them emailed to them almost in the same day that they requested them. So I don't know how to help with that.
So my question, and this is really a serious question, why does every single business owner have to end this alliance, right? We have an alliance. We have 46 towns are inside this unit where you're the director. And so you receive these letters from other business owners, probably from other towns. So isn't there a way to streamline this? And if you get a letter, you can perhaps just to the other business owners so they can see it, because some business owners, and I am telling you, are having problem with specific manufacturers. And we're stuck in this trying to understand what's going on and trying to comply. And just these citations are very burdensome. And I guess, we did have an extension of 30 days. So perhaps just to have another extension to ensure that everybody does have these letters. And perhaps this is something that maybe is not in your jurisdiction, but maybe you can, streamline for all these business owners specifically now that they need for every single product in their store.
So, I mean, if there turns out to be a true demonstrated a need, but so far what's happening is retailers are asking for people, if a manufacturer cannot produce that letter, they got it in 2020 or they got it in 2022, it's possible they're buying from a source that is not legal. So they may not have known that. And the reason why the manufacturer can't produce the letter for them is because they don't have one. So we can't extend it because somebody doesn't have a letter and they're trying to sell a product that didn't meet the FDA requirements. So, I mean, if there is a true need, and I can tell you this, we've had a majority of stores not have a problem getting them. And we also have a majority of stores that have not been selling the products that have flooded the market in the last 15 to 20 months. So, I mean, part of this is about counterfeit investigation, and part of this is about knowing that you're buying from a legal source. If you're a retailer and somebody comes by and contacts you and wants to sell you a product, and you say, sure, I need that FDA letter and the manufacturer letter. If they can't produce both of those, they're not a legitimate legal person to buy from now. Those letters have to be used by each store to make sure the products that they're ordering and come into their store with every order is legal. That's retailer responsibility. Retailer can't sell a product that is known to cause the health harm effects that it does. It's not the same thing as a donut. It's not the same thing as a Reese's peanut butter cup or a bag of chips. This is a product that is lethal. And they have to know, if they're going to sell it, they have to know that they're buying from a legitimate legal manufacturer or distributor. And if you have somebody that you're working with and you cannot get these two letters, that's your answer. You can't get them because they're not a legitimate manufacturer or distributor.
I understand that might be the majority, but there are local business owners, and perhaps that's something that they can talk about in the next meeting of just lawful business owners that are just having trouble specifically with these letters and just not to get citations. Because I'm even talking about that there's a product that is legal, can be sold, but they just don't have the letter. They will get a citation. Even though it's legal. They have the letter to prove that they're buying from a legitimate source. If I have the letter on my file, that doesn't help. But the burden of proof has shifted, right? Because that's exactly. No, it's always been. That's a misconception that you're not understanding as their attorney. The burden of proof has always been, for alcohol, for tobacco, any of these types of product, the burden of proof has always been on the retailer. If you're investing in the business and going to choose the product, you have to do due diligence. And what we do is we work our butts off to educate the retailers as much as we possibly can, so I don't have to give them a fine and I don't have to ticket them. Correct, but that's what this packet is about. This is the education of
When I come in with my state-issued iPad, I have to take a picture and upload straight into the database, and then it triggers other investigations. So I'm educating you, get these out of your products, because I can't hold off. I'm required. I was already required to do Fitchburg's inspection in the first quarter. I put it off to the second quarter. Everybody that was due in the first quarter, I put off to the second quarter to give people time, so I don't have to report my retailers that may have accidentally bought something from somebody that they didn't know wasn't legitimate. It's part of our education process for the retailers.
That is actually all we're asking. That is really all we're asking, is just more time so the business owners do not feel that they are completely choked by everything that's going on. That is all.
Right. And right now we issued, so by the time we get to the 30th, everybody has had that notice for 7 weeks. And if 3/4 of the retailers can get the letters, then I can't say that there's a problem and they just can't get them. And I have to be honest with you, there are some retailers, and I'm not saying in Fitchburg, but there are some retailers that are scrambling to find legitimate manufacturers to buy from now, because they can't buy the vape from the truck from Pennsylvania anymore, or they can't because they won't be able to get this letter.
And again, those are products that we're not talking about. We're not talking about illegal products. But thank you so much for allowing me to speak again.
Yeah. I just wanted to wrap up, Dr. Brocken, and then I have to jump off because I have to jump on another meeting. But when the retailers first approached Steve, the first thing Steve and I talked about is doing exactly what we did in Milford and a couple other towns, is inviting all the retailers into a retail ed and going over the packet from top to bottom and answering all their questions. And I'd like to propose that we do that in between the next meeting, where Steve and I set up something. They can all come in. We'll go over the packet from top to bottom with them, answer as many questions as we can. 14 retailers out of 32 came to the Milford one. That was the biggest one. The others were small, tiny towns where a couple retailers came. And it was a 2-hour meeting. It was 2 hours to go over the packet and answer everybody's questions at that time. And again, you know, people came away with that meeting with more information, more education, but not necessarily liking all the answers. But we have to move forward from there. And then at your next meeting, we can do another presentation, and more retailers can come that may not have known about this meeting tonight. People in the community who've been very passionate about problems will be able to be invited, and they'll be able to come to the meeting as well. You know, other people can come because I think we have to lay down the misconceptions first, so at the next meeting the questions can be more about the facts.
I think that's terrific. Obviously, I'd have to leave that to you and to Steve to arrange according to your own schedules and availability, but I think that would be terrific, and I think it'd be very helpful for all the business owners here to get that education. I think that's great. All right. Well, it's not an easy business, is it? But we appreciate that you do business, and certainly to the extent we can, we want to make you able to do it. But I think education is very helpful for all of that, and sounds as if you're going to be invited to some meetings to understand this and maybe find out how to get letters and whom you can get them from, and deal with all these regulations. It's difficult, I know. I think that concludes the petition request.
Vote on what to do with this petition?
We decided we were not going to take a vote on it at this point.
Table.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Let them clear up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glad I went into medicine. That's easy. It's not an easy. Well, all the things we've had with different things for sale and different people manning the ship at different times. It's not an easy job. Anyway, we could move on to the meeting minutes. And I had a chance to go through them. I had no problem with them. I don't know if...
I'll recuse myself from that. I don't,
Okay.
I wasn't here, so I'll abstain.
I did not read the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
I read them. I thought you did a great job.
I apologize. I sent them late.
I skimmed through them. Well, do you want to just table that then to the next meeting, just to...
Is that acceptable to?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
I had a computer problem. That's a fact. I'm not kidding you.
Didn't get them out on time. Just a couple of announcements, and then we can move on. Thursday, September 19th, next Thursday, I believe that is the Recovery Month Outreach Celebration down at Riverfront Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There is speakers, lunch, and games, and many recovery support resources. So we invite folks, if they'd like to come down Thursday, September 19th at Riverfront Park from 10 to 2 p.m. I believe at the last meeting I said that was not a public event. I stand corrected. It is a public event.
Is that, we've done that before?
Yes, it's been done for the last 3 or 4 years, actually.
Typically, how many people appear at that?
We've had anywhere between 50 and 75 folks.
Good group, yep.
At that event, but varies depending on the weather, obviously. And then the last announcement, Thursday, October 17th from 4 to 7 at the Fitchburg Senior Center, which is at 14 Wallace Ave. We will have our annual health resource fair, sponsored by the Health Department, addressing social determinants of health. There are 70-plus tables, including but not limited to housing, shelter assistance, elder services, veteran support, medical care, cultural offerings, mental health services, healthy eating, employment assistance, education, and it also includes many city departments and state agencies. There are free raffles and giveaways. The Friends of the Fitchburg Senior Center will be selling pizza and snacks 4 to 7, Thursday, October 17th. There will also be a walk-in COVID and flu clinic. So folks are reminded to bring your insurance card and you can get your vaccinations at that time. Any questions? You can call 978-829-1854.
And that's COVID and flu?
At COVID and flu clinic, yes.
Super.
That's what I have.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Let's second it.
Meeting is adjourned.